On today's video, veteran safety Justin Simmons is still on the market, so fans and sports writers are calling for the Chiefs to sign him. And Travis Kelce commented on where he may play after he's done in Kansas City. Let's talk about it.
We're all chiefed up, and we're back with another podcast for that ass. Make sure to hit that like button for us, and if you have not hit the subscribe button already, please do so. We're right at 30K subscribers. Let's get there, baby. Mike, let's talk about this Justin Simmons stuff. What's up with it?
Yeah, let's get it going. Justin Simmons, Casey Kingdom reports Chiefs push to sign longtime Broncos star, says Joe Summers. A ball hawk like Simmons would immediately help matters, as Kabusha writes, of all teams to try and net Simmons, who has a better pitch than the Chiefs? The Chiefs have plenty of cap space, early Super Bowl favorites, and have some guy named Patrick Mahomes on the roster. If Simmons is a mercenary hunting for a playoff-bound team, the Chiefs should be option numero uno. And then they go on to say, from 2020 to 2022, Simmons had at least 5 picks in 3 seasons. Signing him after all those years with the Broncos would have its own moral benefit. Also, kicking a rival while they're down, Steve. Do the Chiefs need Justin Simmons, or is this just smoke?
It's the same old shit, Mike, where there's somebody available. He needs to get signed by the Chiefs, right? But no, the Chiefs are at the top of Justin Simmons' list, no doubt about it, if he wants to win a Super Bowl. But he's at the bottom of theirs. They're completely fine in the secondary. We have so many good safeties that we're talking about Bush not even making the roster.
Simmons is 31 years old, man. He's 31. He's on the back 9 of his playing career. And you can tell he didn't look as good last year as he had looked years before. The Broncos overpaid him. There's a code market right now for safeties all across the league. There's a reason he's not being signed. He's probably wanting upwards of $10 to $12 million a year. That's way too much. He was overpaid in Denver. People think that Justin Reed right now is being overpaid in Kansas City, and he only makes $10.5 per year, and he's only 27 years old. So I'm not paying a guy that's 4 years older as much or more money. And by the way, Justin Reed, 77 solo tackles compared to Justin Simmons' 24 solo tackles last year, and they both had 1 pick each. So I don't care what you think, it's not an upgrade over Justin Reed.
Absolutely not. Don't need it. Don't care. Mike, let's talk about Travis Kelce. He alluded to that he might play for another team besides the Chiefs before his career is over.
Right. Chiefs Wire reports the latest episode of New Heights with Jason and Travis discuss Travis's prospects of playing for a London-based NFL team, Steve. Kelce goes on to say, I'm waiting for that team, London in parentheses, to play for another team other than the Chiefs, said Kelce. That's the only situation is if I get to play abroad. So he said that if he could play for anybody, Steve, he wouldn't pay for anybody in the NFL unless there was an NFL franchise over in London, because he likes London. He likes playing abroad. But the story here is Kelce was asked by Jason, how long do you think the NFL is going to take to get a team abroad, like in London or wherever else? He says less than 10 years. He said, I don't know for a fact it's London, though. I think that's pretty crazy that Kelce, with his ear to the ground, in the NFL thinks that within 10 years, the Chiefs are going to have an expansion franchise in an entirely other country.
It wouldn't surprise me. The NFL's been pushing their stuff overseas like crazy. We know that.
Yeah.
They add more and more games in Europe every year. They're eventually going to try to place a team there. I wonder if Kelce would still want to play for the London team, though, if they relocated the Raiders to London.
Oh, my God. I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. I think it would have to be a brand new addition to a franchise. That would be the only way. Look, Kelce's not playing for 10 more years.
Absolutely not.
He's not playing for 10 more. The fun story of that was that he just thinks that there could be a team within 10 years in London. The logistics on that's insane, though.
I don't disagree with it, but I think the NFL's trying to get to that. They're trying to be more worldwide. Anything they can do to make more money, make their appeal broader, they're going to do it. So I'm not far off from him. I think it could be within the next 10 years.
Hey, if we have watchers in London, I'm sorry, but I don't like it.
Hear ye! It's time for Beyond the Kingdom.
It's time for Beyond the Kingdom,
Hear ye!
Really? Around the NFL reports Titans defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons can't wait to trash talk Bears quarterback Caleb Williams, the rookie in week 1. He said, that's the goal. That's my mindset. He don't care if it's Brady. He don't care who it is. He's just trying to set the tone for the defense and for Tennessee. And he said, our goal is to get to him. And like you said, welcome him to the NFL. Steve, he says, quote, he just wants to make fun of his fingernail paint. That's a good one.
Caleb Williams is going to catch a lot of heat this year. He literally puts himself out there to get made fun of. Jeffrey Simmons is a huge trash talker, but he needs to watch his mouth. I think Trey Smith might have taught him a little bit of a lesson about that the last time the Chiefs played the Titans, because he threw him around like a rag doll.
He's talking about his painted fingernails, man. Like, he hasn't heard this 3 billion times. If he's been anywhere near the internet, he's heard this. That's not that cool of a trash talk at this point. It's a little weak. Moving on. Cowboys' Micah Parsons rebuts Malik Hooker's critique of his podcasting habits. How funny is this, by the way, if we just say a hooker talked crap about, they have to have an Eagles uniform on in that regard. But back to the story, Malik Hooker took to a podcast to question Micah Parsons' proclivity for podcasting. He says, my advice for Micah would be to just make sure we're all right and being where your feet are. Because if we're at work and the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and the run game is terrible, then what are you actually caring about, Steve? And then Parsons takes a little offense to this and says, I just wish you'd have said this to me instead of going to a podcast. You have my number and you're my locker mate. What is happening in Dallas? Like, this guy's mad about his podcast over here.
Podcast. Here's a couple of different things. Real quick. How come every famous person in the world thinks they have to have a podcast now to try to weed out the little guys like me and you? Can we not have this at least? You're already freaking multimillionaire getting to throw a football around. Why do you got to try to take this from us too? But either way, the funny thing about it is he went on a podcast to make fun of Micah Parsons for being on a podcast. I don't know. I just find it all hilarious. Now, I do understand the sentiment because I really do think that. I think some of these players do not focus on the game as much as they should. They're out there trying to be celebrities. And people could say that about Travis Kelce for the Chiefs because he's on there every week, released an episode of New Heights, no matter how the Chiefs played the week before. He might get on there and talk.
It didn't hurt anything.
I'm not saying it does, but I think I get the sentiment from Malik Hooker where, like, it might not look the best, that we're struggling really bad, and you're out here putting time and effort into something that's not the football.
Yeah, I totally understand it, but at the same time, look, if you think him doing an hour podcast weekly on their day off is the reason Dallas's run defense sucks, you're in for a rude awakening there,
Absolutely
Mr.
agree
Hooker.
with that, too.
Around the NFL, history not in favor of the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan's Super Bowl aspirations. It says there have been 3 head coaches in San Francisco Chronicle to lead the franchise to multiple Super Bowls: Walsh, Seifert, and Kyle Shanahan. Unfortunately for Shanahan, he's the only coach in that exclusive club to lose a Super Bowl, and more troubling, the only one to have never won one. Steve, do you think Mike Shanahan's a bad coach? Because personally, I don't think Shanahan's a bad coach at all. I think they've actually done dynasty-worthy stuff besides win the championship in the NFC.
It's because of the Kansas City Chiefs, bro.
Right.
If it wasn't for the Chiefs, the 49ers could be that team trying to claim a little bit of a dynasty run here. Kyle Shanahan's not a bad coach, but he is a Shanarat, which means I don't like him, so I don't really care. And I think that, the cards are kind of stacked against him at this point. If you've already been to a couple and you've blown them, and you even blew it last year, even getting a shot, I don't know, man. How many times can you keep getting back? Like, these don't grow on trees. You don't just get chances to win the Super Bowl every year. So I think Shanahan might have missed his mark, but he's still got a loaded team, best team in the NFC, and the NFC's down. So I can't say that 100%.
Look, he's a better coach than he was when he was an actor and he was the bow tie killer. So we all know that that's a thing. Have the Lions constructed the NFL's most stacked offense? A historic season was held by the Lions in 23. Following doldrums-filled decades, the Lions roared to their first ever NFC North title en route to their initial NFC Championship game appearance since 1991. Much of that came under the success of the offense that produced at every skill position. Have they constructed the most stacked offense in the NFL, Steve? What do you think?
Research says that Dan Campbell's got the most stacked offense in the NFL. I don't agree with it. I really don't. I think the Lions, they're the new darling team. Everybody wants them to be good. Yeah. Everybody was horned up about them last year, really wanted them to get to the Super Bowl. They just couldn't pull it off. There's a lot of inexperience on that team from coaching all the way down. Now, they are a good, young, competitive team. Mike, they could make a run for it for several years to come. But right now, I just don't think you could say they're the most stacked offense when you got offenses out there like the Kansas City Chiefs, like what the Texans have put together down there in Houston. There's a lot of different teams I would look at before I started to discuss the Lions offense.
Right. Look, Jared Goff had a good season last year. Jared Goff's a good quarterback. Is he elite? I can't call him that just yet. And to be honest, if Dan Campbell had just went ahead and kept Matt Stafford, they're probably in the same position. I think Stafford's better. He's had a better career by far, and I think he's just as good on the field. Look, they're decent all the way down. They've paid Amon-Ra St. Brown a bunch of money. I think Sam Laporta is the bright spot going forward along with Amon-Ra. Look, they're good. I don't know if they're the best offensive team in football. We'll have to see coming up on this season, I guess.
That time's yours.
Time's yours, Chiefs Kingdom. Let's get to some comments, Steve. But first, let's kick it off with a little bit of gas. Let's put some gas on it. Trish says, gotta get my all chiefed up fix. You guys rock. Thank you for all the great off-season Chiefs content. Let's freaking go, Chiefs. Off-season. I hate the off-season. The off-season sucks. We're in just the butt crack of the off-season right now. We've still got like 2-3 weeks of extra off season, Steve, and I can't take it.
Appreciate the gas, Trish. It's going to fill us up a little bit to help us get through.
Right, Chiefsaholic. Brohams, you're the best Chiefs channel on the internet. Thank you. Go back to your prison cell there, brother.
Thanks for the gas.
Thanks for the gas. Steve, you got just flat out squirt here. Just flat out destroys you. Like, he tries so hard. You must have pissed in this guy's Cheerios at some point.
He's not the same guy that called me clickbait the other day, is he?
I don't think so. He says, Steve. Please give your big brother, that's me, back his routine. Refrain from singing and from saying the intro, another podcast for that ass that he edited. So this might be a burner of the one guy. Sorry to inform you, you are the straight man.
What's that say about you?
Does that mean am I a gay man?
I think he might be calling you a homosexual male. I'm not for sure.
What? Because
but
I
I
sing?
also don't sing. I might sing with you.
Okay. He says, comedy is not your gig, Steve. Stop stealing Mike's hilarious lines and gags. Plus, the possum look you have on your face when you deliver the lines is not working. Other than that, carry on, Steven. Carry on. What do you got to say to Squidward?
Oh, yeah? Well, I don't really care what you say, Squidward. It doesn't really matter. Maybe your gig is not to give YouTube channel advice. Think about that for a second.
Oh,
he called me a possum.
Called you a possum? He called me. I mean, he said I might not even be straight. Hey,
man.
Thanks for watching, man. You know what?
We appreciate you, man.
We appreciate the comment anyway.
Absolutely.
Whatever you think. Let's move it along. Terry comes in with just this banger of a comment. He says, if the Chiefs win the first 2 games of the season, it's three-peat time. Steve, do you agree? Did the league come at us and just hit us as hard as they could? They made sure that Joe Burrow, sure to God, can't be injured in the first game.
That's what they think.
Do we have wood anywhere? Here. Close
That's
enough.
what they think. The thing about it is, Mike, there's 2 tough games right off the bat. I get it. Right off the rip. You got to play Baltimore, you got to play the Bengals.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make any difference, I don't think. They could go 0-2, they're still going to three-peat. It doesn't matter how they start the season out, it's how they end it. We saw that last year. Not worried about it.
Right. We've seen Detroit, Actually, Detroit didn't beat us. We seen Kadarius Toney beat us last year in week 1.
Look, Kadarius Toney, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce all got together, and they're like, how can we lose to the Lions in week 1? And they came up with a master plan, and they executed it.
And they still almost screwed it up, Steve. We released this video the other day. They messed up talking about the league allowed the Chiefs get a top 5 receiving corps according to PFF, who names the Dolphins, the Texans, the Bengals, the Titans, and the Chiefs. So we had a troll in the house, and Boondock Gore says top 5. Not even close. This is a joke. I'm going to cry laugh. And so we said, well, who's better? And he says, Ravens, Bengals, Dolphins, Jets, Titans, Colts, Texans, Raiders, all better wide receivers. Well, here's what I'm going to say to you there, Boondock. Half of those you named were on the list already. The Dolphins,
right.
The Texans, the Bengals, and the Titans. So, Steve, who's the only ones he didn't name here? The Jets, the Colts, the Ravens, and the Raiders. Steve, the Raiders projected skill players this year. Zamir White at running back, Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker at wide receiver, Brock Bowers. Is that better than what the Chiefs are going to throw on the field?
Absolutely not. I think that my thing is, I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, but I think Devontae Adams, people keep talking about him being one of the best receivers in the league. He might have been at one point. He might have been with Aaron Rodgers. But in the last couple of years, I don't think he's done much of anything. I don't even care anymore.
At this point, he has no quarterback to throw him the ball. He's probably irrelevant at this point. Steve, he names the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, not bad. Jonathan Taylor, but we'll see. Michael Pittman, again, not bad. But after that, they've got Josh Downs, a rookie in A.D. Mitchell, and Jelani Woods, who missed all of last season with an injury. Is that better than what the Chiefs are going to put on the field this year?
They have Alec Pierce as well, and I still don't think it's a better product. You have yet to see Alec Pierce hit his full potential. Josh Downs is still a what if. Is he going to hit his ceiling? Michael Pittman's the only solid receiver they got. If you start talking tight ends, Travis Kelce swamps anybody we're going to talk about, so you don't even have to even mention it. And as far as the running back goes, I like Jonathan Taylor, but I think as far as the receiving back goes, if the Chiefs use Isaiah Pacheco as a receiving back, I don't think there's much difference.
100%. The Jets, he names the Jets. Breece Hall, fine. Great running back, come off the injury last year, looked okay. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, who's always injury prone, Xavier Gibson, and Tyler Conklin is that big group. Steve, they were talking about needing desperate people. They actually went in the offseason and signed Alan Lazard, drafted Malachi Corley. They needed somebody besides Garrett Wilson, and their big solution was Mike Williams, who stays on the IR.
Yeah, this one's not even close. I don't even know why this one was brought up. I get it that Garrett Wilson's a beast. Breece Hall, who even cares? Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand this one at all. They should not be on this list.
Right. So Baltimore was the last one he named. Derrick Henry, that's
Even
a good
worse.
running back. But Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, come on, Rashad Bateman's nothing. Nelson Aguilar is nothing. And then, of course, Mark Andrews, pretty good tight end. And then Isaiah Likely, pretty good second tight end. I think it's close there. I don't know if I prefer them because, like I said, Steve,
I don't know, man. I think they're just as bad as the Jets.
Well, come on. I mean, Mark Andrews is good. Mark
Mark Andrews also is about like Mike Williams. So what are we talking about here?
That's true. Look, I think with Kelce being named on this list, it's tough to take anybody anywhere close to the GOAT tight end right there. I mean, look, there's only a few in history that's put up as many good numbers as Kelce, and by the time he's said and done, it's probably going to be nobody. So moving on to a different comment, Alex comes in with the wide receiver group on that same video and says, this wide receiver group in KC can be very dangerous depending on two things, Steve. One, Xavier Worthy's development, and two, Hollywood having no injuries. Alex, I think that was a very smart comment. Why? Because I kind of said the same thing the other day on the live, Steve. I think if Hollywood Brown and Patrick Mahomes have that good chemistry and he can stay healthy, along with Xavier Worthy finally getting on the field and being able to produce early and often, and then, of course, it all relies on Rashee Rice not getting the hammer from the NFL, but I think they hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of people are worried about Rashee Rice getting the hammer from the NFL. Like you said, so many people I've seen talking about how he's not going to get to play. He's going to be on the exempt list. He's going to be out at least 8 games. I don't think it matters at this point. I'm sorry, but the way that Brett Veach went out and kind of filled in that wide receiver room this offseason with Hollywood Brown, drafting Xavier Worthy, and then you still got some guys kind of on the fence, like Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, and then you got your Justin Watson, whoever they decide to put on the squad, man. I think if Rashee Rice is out for any significant amount of time, I think we're fine. And then when he comes back, you just got more gas, baby.
Yeah, more gas. HD Chiefs fan, Zamet, as a former rugby player, will be the perfect third down back, whether trying to get that short yardage or picking up the block. Trust in it. Do you think Zamet is enough to be RB3 in KC? Like, do you trust him enough if, say, Pacheco were to go down, Clyde were to go down, either way, and he's got to step in for third down situations in a Clyde injury, or maybe, you know, Clyde has a little nicked up week 2 and then Pacheco's down a little bit. Do you trust Zamet to carry the full load?
Absolutely not. Not right now. I think he's got to get there and prove himself. He can maybe work himself up to that position. I'm not saying that he won't.
Right.
But right now, him still learning the rules of football? Absolutely not. You can't rely on that.
Look, he came from a football household. His dad played it. It takes a lot to get in there. I think he can play, and I think he's going to do well. Do I trust him without seeing him even take a hit with the pads on yet? I mean, this is where we are right now.
I think he's going to be fine with that and everything. I'm not saying that he won't, but I'm right there with you. Like, we haven't seen any of it. And this kid is going to get put on the roster more than likely,
We've not seen him in legit football action.
Right, but I think he's still going to get put on this roster for special teams purposes.
Right.
I think he's only going to see the field on offensive snaps sparingly.
Right. ACU misfit Julia Guglia comes out and says, never forget, Matt Castle once looked a child straight in the eyes and lied to him.
Never forget, baby.
Never forget. Before we head out, we got our boy Trey Smith rocking the FOCO cooking set, Steve. He's got the Chiefs apron, the oven mitt, the beautiful chef hat looking like Gordon Ramsay out here smoking meat on the Traeger. If you guys want that, go down in our description, click our link, let them know All Chiefed Up sent you. Grab yourself one of those.
Look sexy while you're grilling your meat out there this summer. And we appreciate you being here. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, and we'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs.